and Toast friends. Welcome to the as yet unnamed Toastmaster Storytelling Club for District 4 areas 1, 2, and whatever else overlaps. I am Frisco. I am the acting Sergeant at Arms. I'd like to thank you all for being here tonight. Everyone who has signed up for a role, we appreciate you. We know it was a little unusual for a startup first time out of the gate, but we've got a great turnout. I am now going to hand everything over to our Toastmaster of the day, our club president, David Bush.
Yeah, David. I will say proposed president, because until we actually vote on it, I can't call myself president. Once upon a time, there was a group of wonderful people who got together in Scotts Valley to start a storytelling club. Tonight is another chapter in our journey to get this club up and running. And it's another chapter in our Division A story. We're honored tonight to have several dignitaries with us to participate in this event. And as I call your name, please stand up and be recognized. We have Henry Miller, Distinguished Toastmaster and past District 4 Governor. We have Peter Stonard, Advanced Communicator Silver, Advanced and he's Division H Governor. And then, of course, we have one of our local heroes, Tom Ginsburg. He's Advanced Communicator Bronze, Advanced So as we've been planning for this club, we've had lots of discussion about what a storytelling club is. And we've had discussions to say, well, does that mean we can only use the storytelling manual and no other manual? And actually, what we talked about was storytelling could be part of any speech. It could be your CC7, research a topic speech, where you're looking into some topic. For example, we had a speech about the jail situation in our club. And the person doing that speech then incorporated some stories within his speech. And that, to me, is what this club would be about in the future. So before we get to the heart of this meeting and have our speeches, I wanted to let you know you have a great packet clipboard, and on that clipboard you'll find a ballot with possible names for the club. So as we go through the meeting, please feel free to look at it and decide which club name is interesting to you. For the next hour, we're going to conduct the meeting as we normally would. And then we're going to leave some time at the end for the chartering discussion and open it up for any questions about the process and about the new club. From a regular Toastmasters club, you may find there is no normal Toastmasters club. From a regular Toastmasters club, you would find a word of the day. And in our storytelling environment, we're going to go with an idiom of the day. So I'd like to invite Frisco up as our idiom master to introduce our idiom of the day.
It's deja vu all over again, but that's not our idiom of the day. The idiom of the day for this club is going to serve to help enhance our language and expression. It may be a figure of speech, it may be a literary technique like alliteration or hyperbole. Today, in keeping with our theme of once upon a time, I chose the idiom time flies. It does not have to be time flies when you're having fun, but any use of time flies referring to how we lose track of time or our perspective of time gets warped depending on what we're doing. All are encouraged to use this where possible when speaking to the group tonight. And when you do, or when you hear it, I should say, please join me in rapping upon your table, which in this case is our clipboards, to acknowledge that we recognize someone did it. I will track how often the idiom of the day gets used and provide a report at the end of the meeting. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you. Now, as experienced Toastmasters, we all know that part of being in a Toastmasters meeting is getting feedback. And for me, I always value feedback that I get. So tonight I'd like to invite our general evaluator up, Maggie Law, to introduce the evaluation team.
I can't resist. Time flies when you're having fun. You always have fun when you have a Toastmasters meeting. Our meetings here will be the same that we'll all be familiar with, and at the same time slightly different. Today our evaluator teams include Terry Rein and Sandy Nason. We have a ruthless timekeeper, Lisa DuPont, who will make some horrible cackling sound if somebody were to go past the limit on a deadline. Because I see she doesn't have a bell to ring. For our grammarian, we have Wally Dale, seasoned professional and grammarian. We have Marcy Hughes. Where are you, Marcy? Hi. Who is going to be our counter, and those are the helpers of the day. David.
Thank you.
To me, I always think of storytelling as an art form. And I think to master any art, it's important to understand the different techniques used in that art form. And in this case, it's techniques of telling impactful stories. So tonight I'm honored to introduce Stan Grindstaff to share his techniques for sharing and telling stories. Stan.
Hey, Stan. I wrote a book some 20 years ago, 78 stories from the time I was a little guy up to the time when I broke my leg when I was 19 years old and learned a lesson. And with all of the stories, I was present. I'm present with you now. When I was 4 years old, I was present on my grandpa's lap. When at my birthday dinner, my tooth came out and fell in my vegetable soup. I see my tooth, I have it in my hand, it falls in my soup, and I say, I just lost my tooth. Grandpa fishes around in the soup, pulls out a little chunk of carrot and says, is this your tooth? I say, no, that's a little chunk of carrot. And no, that's a little potato. Well, what I just did there, I was speaking in past tense. This had happened to me, and then I shifted into present tense. Now, if I was going to tell the story, I would start out in first person present tense. I was 12 years old, and my little brother kept getting his Buster Brown shoe stuck in the railroad track, and then pulling it out, and then pretending like it was stuck, and then pulling it out. And I finally said, I'm just gonna go home. And then he pretended that a train was coming and whatever and whatever. Now, if I was going to start that story for real, I would want to be in the first person, present time, with it happening now. So I might start at something like, the blast of the train whistle spins me around. I see puffs of white smoke puffing up. And my little brother actually is stuck. And he really is yelling and flailing about, and I run. And the story might unfold. The most impactful way to tell a story is to be in the story. And along with that goes seeing what you're looking at. Seeing the scene, picturing it, because if you really see it, you are not clever enough to stop your body from responding to it. And then you say it, coming out of that. So if you want to put down a little formula for expression, anytime you have an image word, a noun, that your audience can create, the formula is my 3 S's: see, respond, say. I'm offering a course at Cabrillo, June 18th, 19th, 20th for next stage for the 50+ group getting into performing arts, etc. The title of the course is Story Sizzle, and it's being touted as my system for telling without memorization, without a script, and without rehearsal.
Wow.
Now, when I do major stories, 10-minute stories, 15-minute stories, I'm the featured teller, opened up the Santa Cruz Storytelling Festival. I use this approach. What I do in place of a script, it's like a picture book. I would see, for instance, the picture of my little brother playing with his shoe in the train track. I would see the picture of the hill, the smoke puffing up, blue sky, the street down to where my brother's flapping around. See the details. I just take note of what they are. I would see the picture where well, I guess I should share. It won't make you buy my book to find out what happens in the story. But after I yank him out of his Buster Brown shoe, after some travail with the train coming at us, get him to the side of the road, I pictured what it was that was flapping up around us. The dust, the chewing gum wrappers, the clumps of weeds, newspaper. So I get in touch with the design of the image. I see it, I respond, I say it.
Very good.
Wow, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Our first prepared speaker this evening brings us an interesting storm tale. Daniel is a member of Evening Toastmasters Club. This will be a 5 to 7 minute speech. Please help me welcome to deliver A Storm to be Remembered, Daniel Jadick.
The biting wind blows ferociously down Pacific Avenue. The moon makes the snowflakes appear to be as large as Volkswagens as they tumble and crash into the ground all around me. This was an unusual storm because in Santa Cruz, California, it usually doesn't snow until August or September. But I'll tell you, this storm was as real as the nose on my face and as welcomed as a hooker at a funeral. As I made my way towards my vehicle, I kept my eye on the ground in front of me to avoid ice slicks and deep slush puddles. As I approached a lighted corner, I saw something on the ground, a crumbled up piece of paper. To this day, I don't know why I was compelled to swoop down and grab that piece of paper and stuff it into my right coat pocket. Arriving at my car, I saw that my lock was frozen I had to use my big lighter to heat my key so that I could insert it 1 millimeter at a time in order to be able to open that car door. Once inside my car, I started the motor and turned on the solar-powered radio. Yes, one of the perks of living in Santa Cruz, California is our wonderful, marvelous solar-powered radio system. I don't know how it works at night, but it does. As the car is warming inside, my attention is brought to that crumpled up, green-colored piece of paper in my right coat pocket. I reach in with my gloved hand and pull it out. Turning on the dome light and unraveling it, I see to my amazement that it is in fact a $100 bill. Doubting my own good luck, I turned it over. And there, I saw something that changed my life. In red ink, in what appeared to be a woman's handwriting, were the words 49 Cosmo Place, dashed in caps, H-E-L-P, exclamation point. I shivered again when I saw that. Was this the work of some unfeeling, uncouth individual who would be willing to spend $100 to have me show up at his house so he could laugh at me? Or, in fact, was this a person in distress who was willing to pay me in advance for my assistance? Should I go to 49 Cosmo Place? Nah, I'll just keep the $100. I pulled out into the street and headed the vehicle towards the highway to go home. 5 minutes later, I found myself parked on a side street between two big snowbanks. My attention again went to that crumpled up green piece of $100 bill. I took out my garment and I entered 49 Cosmo Place. And to my amazement, there is such a place. Looking at the map, I realized that 49 Cosmo Place was one of those streets where you can only go in and out of it with one way. I had the impression that if you had no reason to be at 49 Cosmo Place, you'd probably never know it existed. Nah, forget it. Started driving towards the highway again, resolute to just forget it. 20 minutes later, I was slowly inching my car along the curb on Cosmo Place, looking for 49. I saw a building with that number on it, and it was a very odd building because of two things. Number one, there were no windows visible from the street. And number two, it was painted entirely in black. I inched the car forward and forward till I could see what appeared to be the front door. The front door itself was massive. It appeared to be made out of both concrete and steel. As I drove even closer, I could see lettering on the door, with some of the letters missing, kind of like the well-worn smile of a prize fighter. The letters were D-S-C-P-H-Y, and I was befuddled. My curiosity then grabbed me by the back of my neck and forced me to open that car door, and I threw myself out of the car and fell into the deepest, coldest slush puddle ever. Now I am limping with cold, numbed legs and feet across the street to get closer to this door so that I maybe would hear something. Near the doorknob, in very small lettering, it said, "Open, come in." Well, that was my invitation. I must have assumed that the door was a lot heavier. Rather, I assumed that the door was a lot heavier than it was because it was made out of steel and concrete. I pushed all of my weight against the door, but I was surprised because it didn't take that much effort, and I stumbled in with my legs numb. It was difficult to get my balance, but I did. As I entered that building, I saw something that amazed me. It was a fairly well-lit building, and inside there were rows and rows and rows of wooden tables about that high, and on those tables were stacked record albums, vintage record albums. And within that building, I could see 12 or 14 people silently flipping through record albums, searching for that evening's treasure. On my right, I could see a podium, and on it stood a man, a bearded man, who apparently was the clerk. And when our eyes met, he nodded a welcome, and I nodded a thank you. And then to my left, I saw this young woman walking somewhat carefully but briskly towards the counter with a singular record album under her arm. I recognized that album. It was the Beatles' Help album from 1965. She approached the counter carefully, and so carefully placed that record album on the counter as if it were the finest piece of china. She then reached into her pocket, and when her hand came out empty, she shrieked, "Where's my money?" And she started to cry. I walked over to her because I realized what had happened now. I walked over to her and said, "I think this is yours." She looked at me in amazement, and her tears turned to laughter and giggling. "How did you find that? How did this happen? That's amazing, that is mine." I said, "Well, this was meant to be." She bought the record, paid for it, and then turned to me and gave me the warmest, most wonderful hug ever. Then as she backed away, she looked at me again and said, "Would you like to come to my apartment and listen to this wonderful music?" I said, "Certainly, why not?" That was 30 years ago, and we are still married today. Thank you very much. No, listen.
On your clipboard, you'll notice a smaller sheet where you can write some comments for Daniel as well. And if you could please pass them to Daniel at the end of the meeting, I'm sure he would appreciate it. Next, I'd like to introduce our second prepared speaker. Today, Henry will tell us about a recent experience he had when he was invited to speak at a speechcraft meeting held in San Jose for the homeless. The meeting was hosted by the Switch On Toastmasters Club. Henry is a member of SEO Toastmasters, Surf City Toastmasters, Point of Order, and Next Step Toastmasters. His speech today is from CC Manual Project 3, Get to the Point. It's 5 to 7 minutes. Please help me welcome to deliver the home of the homeless, Henry Miller.
Hey, Henry.
Fellow Toastmasters, tell me, why do we join Toastmasters? Did you two fall for that line that if you become a Toastmaster, learn to speak properly, one day you will be able to command 6 figures?
I didn't hear that one.
Oh, well, I'm here to tell you 6 zeros, 6 figures. And as time goes by, time does fly. And I came to realize that you do not join Toastmasters to become a better Toastmaster at Toastmasters. It is when you step out of the Toastmasters meetings and you begin to use what we learn here. You begin to touch lives. The meter begins to roll. The meter begins to roll. And 2 weeks ago, I was reminded of this when I was asked to speak at a speechcraft project for the homeless. Now, I must confess that I did feel a bit out of place when I arrived. Didn't get the memo about the dress code. I came dressed with a jacket, tie, and the badge. The same folks they were looking at like, what are you doing here? But as the meeting was about to begin, I felt a little more at home when I realized that they were going to start the meeting with a song. See, one of my clubs, Surf City, we do begin our meetings with a song. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. I have a wonderful feeling. Everything's going my way. But when they handed me their song, I was taken back a bit. And the lyrics were, find me a home where the cops do not roam, and the sinks and the toilets will stay. And never is heard the eviction word, and a roof keeps the rainy weather at bay. Home, sweet home, San Jose, where the sinks and the toilets don't stay. And never is heard the eviction word, and the roof keeps the weather at bay. That song drove it home to me that this is real. This is not a Toastmasters meeting. This is what Toastmasters is all about. People sharing their lives, their stories. And as we went around the room doing the introductions, this was a little more evident to me. Yolanda, the first speaker, gave a 3 to 5 minute speech. A day in the life, a day in her life, from sunup to sundown. And I began to understand the plight of some of these people. Why they roam the streets at night and sleep by day in the parks. And the problems they face because sleeping in the park is against the law. This is real. I realized I was in the home of the homeless. I was peeking into their lives. Then there was Robert. Robert looked pretty much like Cesar Chavez, the advocate from, I'm sure many of you are familiar with. Long hair. And his eyes were burning a hole into my soul. He kept looking at me. And when it was his turn to speak, he spoke about Bill 608. And he was preparing to do a presentation the following Friday. And we gave him some feedback. And I was very happy to hear a few days ago that he delivered that presentation. And he came up, because of some of the feedback we gave him, perhaps, with a way of bringing that message home to the city council. He started by asking those in the back to come forward. He spoke for a while. Then he asked those on the left to move over to the right. And then he asked those on the right to move over to the left. And pretty soon, the message was quite clear. How did that make you feel? This is the plight of the homeless. All he wanted from us was how to say it so that we could get it. And that is what Toastmasters is all about. Getting out of your comfort zone, stepping out, and touching the lives of others. So that at some point, perhaps in the future, we will never have to sing that ugly song. Find me a home where the cops do not roam, and the sinks and the toilets will stay. And never is heard the eviction word, and the roof keeps the weather at bay. We all can do something to make a change. we're Toastmasters, let's get out and start doing it.
Thank you for giving a prepared speech. Thank you. Appreciate it. So just as for Daniel, there's also another sheet of paper for you to fill out some comments for Henry as well, attached to your clipboard. So far, I have definitely whet my appetite on storytelling with these wonderful prepared speeches. So now I would like to welcome Tom up to lead our next activity with even more stories from all of you. He will lead our tale topics. Let's welcome Tom.
Before we get started with this, just an announcement. You see a piece of paper here that has the proposed club names. I'd like to collect this after the tale topics are open. As a matter of fact, tale topics questions are going to be, some of them are going to be related to the choice of names here, so it might give you a chance to think about it. But I'm going to come around and collect these, and we'll announce the winner, the name winner later. So what is tale topics? What's the difference between tale topics and table topics? Well, it's still 1 to 2 minutes, but really it's about coming up with a tale, a story, on your feet. So it may be, check my questions out and you'll see what I'm talking about. So this is about coming up with a tale in 1 to 2 minutes. So let's get started. So many a fairy tale begins with once upon a time, right? Spin us a fairy tale about something magical that happened to you here in our lovely abode of Santa Cruz. Wilson.
Yeah, Wilson. Fellow Toastmasters, once upon a time, I moved to Santa Cruz, and I discovered all the things that Santa Cruzans do. They pick mushrooms in the forest, and they find water features in the redwoods, and they climb really tall trees, and they surf on waves, and some of them like to do jungle gym stuff on road signs and dress like dinosaurs, and it's all okay because it's Santa Cruz. It's cool. People enjoy it. People don't turn an eye. And I lived happily ever after.
One thing I failed to mention actually is that in this group we're going to end up coming forward and speaking up here. I did the same exact thing at Silicon Valley Toastmaster. I stood up and like, Tom, you're supposed to come up here. So different clubs do it different ways. But actually, the next person I call on, you can come on up here, and that way you can speak in front of the group. The Toastmasters Division A contests are going to celebrate Tall Tales this Saturday in Watsonville. I hope as many of you as possible can be there. Share with us your short whale of a tale. Lordy Lockyer.
I sail a 16-foot Hobie Cat catamaran with my boyfriend. It's my job to steer the boat and to, pull the front sail called the jib in and out. We were sailing from Santa Cruz to Monterey, and we were going to stop in Moss Landing. It's kind of a fun, just zoom down the coast, but that day we were going, it was a little different. The whales were going the opposite way. And these were the humpback whales. And as we were going, we would see them, and if you've ever seen us on a Hobie Cat, in order when the wind comes, so it doesn't blow over, you have to lean way over the side And I was leaning over the side, and here's this whale. I could almost touch it. And I'm like, turn the boat, don't hit the whale. And we went for a while, and then all of a sudden, we saw this little tail. It was a baby. Yeah. And I'm like, turn, don't hit the baby. And we went by, and we had to slow down, because it came up and did, and it was so little, and then we thought, Mom's ought to be around somewhere. So we didn't move at that point, but the wind was picking up, and we just kind of coasted, and we saw Mom on the other side, and she was just kind of giving us that look. And she went off. And we made it to Moss Landing, and we were greeted by all the little otters. And they just kind of parted as we came in. But that is my whale of a tail.
Well, in 1998, Ma Bell gave us a new area code here. At first, a lot of us were upset about it, but then in time, we embraced 831 as our own identity. Now, you are a numerologist. Tell us what 831 really means. Are we lucky, or does disaster loom? And why? Ryan colored
Thank you for that wonderful question, Master Tabletop Master Tom. Have I got a whale of a tale for you guys about 831? This is really a magical number, 831. And I'm going to walk you through why these numbers, 8, 3, and 1, are so magical. The number 8 is kind of like the pi figure turned at a 90-degree angle. So if you just think about that for a moment, and how amazing that number can be if you just twist it sideways. I mean, pi is 3.141567 blah 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 blah. It goes on in infinity. That's just the start. The number 3 is kind of like 8, but it's like half of an 8. If you double it, imagine how incredible it is. It's half of infinity. And the number 1, and 1 is, you're the best, you're number 1. So you've got infinity and a half and 1 as being the best. 831, the best area code in the United States. Thank you.
Pretty compelling argument for storytellers. Good fortune, no doubt. However, tide pools, they're fascinating microcosms of life, and they're brought to the surface at low tides. If you've discovered a new creature unlike anything seen before, miniature but with human features. Tell us its story, Allie.
I'm on retreat. It's a very holy time. I'm walking on the beach. But it's not like our beach. No, our beach is clean, lovely. This beach is in Washington. There is a big cliff, and at the bottom of the beach, it's very viscous. Creepy, really. So you don't just walk, you kind of walk like this. And as I'm walking along, being very holy, you understand, I hear this. seems to be coming from that rock. There's a lot of muscles on that rock. I bet they're clicking. That's fine. Oh. There's someone there. It looks sort of like a shoe, but it's really not. It's a person. I heard it. I was tapping. It could be a nice person. Suddenly, there was a red light. I was so off the hook. Thanks be to God.
The Central Coast is a great place to live. We all know that. Tell us a story that only you know of the Central Coast's deepest, darkest secrets. Dwayne Irons. Come on up.
Well, there are a lot of secrets out there. And I keep this one because I really don't want to share it. I was fishing one day, and actually I have a rowing ship, but I take a fishing pole with me once in a while. At one time, this was a beautiful day, I looked around me, I heard some splashing. And I looked again and I saw a fishtail. And I thought, well, that's not too unusual, so I didn't pay much attention. I kept going, and all of a sudden, a beautiful woman's head popped out of the water. I couldn't believe there was a mermaid out there. So I had a camera with me, and I reached for it, but she moved too fast. And I missed the shot, but I'll always remember that. And I frequently go back out there, but never see her again.
I've never seen a mermaid and Bigfoot myself too, so I'll be looking now when I'm out on the bay. Toastmasters Spring District 4 Conference in May will celebrate 80 years that District 4 has been around. Describe what your 80th year birthday celebration will look like in detail. Ron Goodman.
Actually, truth be known, my 80th birthday celebration wasn't all that big, to tell you the truth. Didn't do a whole lot, just hanging out with friends and things of that nature. I was in a lot of healing at the time and mending some heart stuff. And so for my 80th birthday, I decided to just take care of myself. And sometimes sometimes that's the best thing that you can do for yourself. Because there are times to celebrate, pop the cork, go crazy, like winning a contest or winning a race or doing something extravagant or big in your life. But when you're just taking it easy and you're holding that healing space for yourself, being in touch with spirit, someone that you had affection for is not around anymore, you just settle in and count your blessings, stand in gratitude, and let the soft joy flow over yourself like rain from the heaven. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think the wrong guy for the question. It wasn't a day over 70. That was something right. If I look at that good as wrong. Thank you, Ron, for sharing with us. So both the Santa Cruz and Golden State Warriors basketball teams are in the playoffs this year, right, Ryan?
Yeah.
And both of them could go all the way. Meanwhile, a world champion of public speaking could be in this very room. Tell us when and where you won the big prize and how you did it. Curtis Relaford. Come on up here. World champion of public speaking to be in this very room. Tell us when and where you won the big prize and how you did it.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for allowing me to be up here at this storytelling. You see why I need as much practice as I can get to get in front of the White House and have millions and millions of people there to hear what I got to say about the United States. When you spread the word of love, you got to have a song. What the world needs now is love, sweet love, just a little bit. We don't need no more mountains, no more trees. We just need love amongst all of us. You got to be strong to carry that message and write it all over your vehicle and ride the United States. When you ride the United States with us, elaborate, giant, big truck, you got to have something to say. Then you climb up on top of this truck and you just dance your fanny off and you grab this attention with this zydeco music. You got to have something to say. Ladies and gentlemen, join me on a journey of kindness. You got to have empathy, love, compassion. You got to care for the next person as much as you care for yourself. You can't worry about a house. You can't worry about $1 million. You got to worry only for that moment. You got those people attention. And you got to tell them the truth. Let's see, I got a little bit more time. To tell you. So, I'm going to leave it at that. But you guys, vote for me. And matter of fact, come to court with me on the 30th of Thursday. Thank you.
That does it for table topics this time around. I'm going to turn the meeting over to our general evaluator, Maggie. Oh, and remember to cast your votes for the club name and pass them back here.
All right, looks like we're passing those votes. Eunice, speak. So, the evaluation portion, we're going to start with Terry Rein, evaluating a stormy tale. Terry.
Thank you. Daniel, congratulations on a very excellent and entertaining story. Before the meeting started, I had an opportunity to ask Daniel what his objectives were. And he said he wanted to be smooth. And he wanted to evoke emotion. And frankly, you just nailed it. You were smooth throughout. You evoked a lot of emotion, and you had me captivated throughout the entire story. Time flew when you were telling your story. Several things I liked about your story were your eye contact. You have a very super pleasant appearance and a real authentic man. You come across as somebody that I want to like, and that's a very compelling, you have a compelling presence. I loved your story. You hauled us through, up and down, back and forth, this weaving story of possibly saving someone in this weird 4-9 Cosmo place. Help, help. And you wanted to be a hero, but nah, maybe not. So you had doubts and then commitment, doubts and then commitment, and I thought that was a very effective tool to keep us drawn in. Your imagery was wonderful, beautiful imagery, colorful. Cold, wet weather, I felt like I was there because I hate being cold. I grew up in Wisconsin. And things like the concrete door, the steel and concrete door, I could feel it, and the surprise you felt when it really wasn't that heavy. So super effective detail that I think made us feel like we were there with you. If I had any tip, it would be get a little more animated, and that's hard for a Norwegian to say because we're normally very reserved. But if I would do it, it's just bring it more to life, get more in people's faces, bring it out just a little more. Act out the scenes, and more voice variations, some surprises, some big stuff that you can really have to further bring us in. So, you pulled it off, a smooth speech that evoked emotion. You had me drawn in through the entire story, and congratulations on a job well done.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, there's more. Special Achievement Award.
Thank you, Terry.
And now to evaluate a speech on homelessness, we have Sandy Mason. Sandy.
My friend Curtis is a very, very accomplished speaker. He was working out of the Competent Communicator Manual, which he's done more than once. Get to the point, to be clear and concise. Talking about home of the homeless. Well, he's very, first of all, his skills to me, the thing that I'm most in awe of in Curtis is how he used Curtis. Henry.
Well, thank you.
It's just how he uses the pause. We can all go to school on the way Henry pauses. He has good vocal variety. He tells a great story. I know Henry practices all parts of every speech, but I also know that he can speak off the cuff. Well, when I start to tell you how I think Henry can improve, let me just reiterate the fact that I think he's a marvelous speaker. I think in order to make this more impactful, because as a story, you need to make your descriptions more vivid. You gloss over things like Yolanda told the story of her life. Well, there was skinny little Yolanda, 35, and I don't know, with bruises on her face or scraggly hair, or maybe she was all fixed up pretty, but you need to tell us more about her and more about the other man that finally gave his speech. Make things more vivid for us, because the storytelling is emotional, and it's also got to connect with our imagination. The next thing, Henry, I don't quite know how to say this, but even though you're so skillful, you're not letting out your emotions. Your skill is triumphing your emotions, is all I can say. It's like, I want to hear the heartbreak of it. It didn't quite come through. You had the good vocal variety, but somehow, let's say, his eyes were burning a hole in my soul. It wasn't, we've got to send you to drama school
Good.
to get that down a little bit. And then the last thing is the close. The point of this, of all of this story for me was the fact that we need to get out and not just be skillful for Toastmasters. You don't go to Toastmasters to be a better toast speaker in Toastmasters. You go out in the world to touch lives. I think that's it. You said that earlier, but I wanted that to be more clear at the end. Yes, the vehicle was the homeless story, but the real challenge was to us. You, Jack, you're a better speaker than you were 25 years ago. But now, take it out into the world, each one of you. I want to hear some real easy connection at the end that brings it all home. Don't get me wrong, Henry. I think you're a wonderful speaker.
Amen.
There's more. Thank you. So now is the general evaluation of our maiden voyage. I feel like I should have a bottle of champagne. That was the confetti. So, first of all, I'd like to congratulate our two evaluators. The challenge of evaluating the kind of speeches that we were given is extremely demanding. Easy to stand up and say, that was great. Stop there. As to what Terry gave us, she identified structure in a speech that was a story that was spellbinding. And she recognized the combination of doubts and commitment, which was really the spine of your story. Sandy, you gave an evaluation full of enthusiasm, and I'd also say full of courage and insight, because there was a piece of feedback to Henry, who strikes me as somebody who can move a whole congregation to embrace your passion. And it takes courage to say that to such an accomplished speaker. As to table topics, I really thought, how in the world can anybody tell a story in 2 minutes? I'm glad I'm doing a speaking role today and I'm not going to get called on. What was fascinating to me was to see how far a story could go extemporaneously within 2 minutes. The enthusiasm we had as we listened, and our laughter, to mermaids, to rain coming down and soothing us from heaven, to infinity and beyond, to the clack of a creature in a viscous tide pool, to whale watching and almost colliding with a baby whale. And what a brilliant ending. I lived happily ever after. What a response to 2 minutes. We are launched. This is our meeting. Thank you. And I just got so excited I forgot to go on to our ordinary structure, which is of course very important, starting with our time report. Lisa.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and new friends. Tonight is a new night of us coming together in the Storyteller Club. So once upon a time, and time did fly tonight, we had Lisa Frisco, the Idiom Master of 1 minute, 3 seconds. Storytelling Technique by Dan, 5 minutes and 57 seconds. All the tail topics, most of the tail topics rather, were under 2 minutes. And the speeches went over. Daniel, your speech was 7 minutes and 48 seconds. Henry, your speech was 7 minutes and 13 seconds. Tail topics. Wilson, 1 minute, 6 seconds. Lori, 1 minute, 56 seconds. Ryan, 1 minute, 27 seconds. Allie, a little bit over, 2 minutes and 15 seconds. Dwayne, 1 minute, 39 seconds. Ron, 1 minute, 24 seconds. Curtis, you went over, 2 minutes, 10 seconds. Maggie, you spoke for 2 minutes, 17 seconds. And our evaluators, Terry, 2 minutes, 26 seconds. Sandy Mason, 3 minutes and 46 seconds.
Lisa, thank you. And the narrative report from Wally. Wally.
Thank you, Madam Evaluator.
You're welcome.
First of all, this group has no lack of imagination. We heard that here tonight. Now, I've been in Toastmasters almost 40 years. And one thing that's always banged into our head is we don't turn a meeting over, we turn control of the meeting over. You turn pancakes over, you turn control of the meeting over. Okay? Chris, you said, well, I'm going to hand everything over. You're going to turn control of the meeting too. Tom said, I'm going to turn the meeting over. You turn control of the meeting over. A couple of good things here today we'll talk about. I liked Daniel, well-worn smile of a prize fighter. I like that comment. Okay. Also, Henry, the home of the homeless. That's a neat comment. I heard also my friend over here, Rein, let the soft joy flow over yourself. That's a nice, warm statement. Sandy, would you stand up, Henry?
Sure.
Where's Sandy? That's Henry and that's Curtis.
We all do look alike.
Curtis has more hair. Sandy, one comment. We all do this. We get excited. We try to jam sentences together. You said, I'm going to tell how, I'm going to tell what you want to tell us. You need both of them in there, so short it down. So, Madam General.
Now we're going to have our odd counter. Marcy, where are you, Marcy? Here. Thank you.
Okay, well, time flies when there's no filler words. I'm a new all counter. This is my second time counting odds. And I really couldn't find any. Sandy had 1 like and 2 ums. And that was all I detected.
Thank you. An idiom report. You're welcome.
All right. Time flew one time each from the mouths of me, Henry, Maggie, Marcy, Terry, and Lisa. So thank you all.
And now I am turning control to Jadick.
Thank you. So before we wrap up the meeting section of tonight's event, I actually would like to really thank all of the people who helped with planning, starting this club. And that includes Catherine, Tom, Daniel, and Frisco. We've been meeting for about a couple of months, 2 or 3 months actually, to make tonight happen. So thank you for Unfortunately, all good stories have to have an ending. But whenever I finish a really good book, it actually makes me excited because I can think about the next story I'm going to get to read or hear. So now I'd like to turn control of the meeting over to Tom, who will lead the business discussion for chartering the club.
I think I only got about half half of your votes in though. I can't tell you a club name, but how many of you got votes here?
There's more votes.
Oh, okay. Got here. Well, we got a lot of, yes, we have an overachiever here. I got them all here. Okay. Oh, wow. Wow.
You want to hand that off?
I already got it. It's already clear. 831 Storytellers. 831 Storytellers. Ryan, I think you did it in here.
Well, yeah,
The next one, the next closest was Once Upon a Time, but 831 is definitely the chosen name. So I hope you're. I think it's the district marketing advisor, Rita Barber, who couldn't be here this evening. She said to us, he goes, yeah, having a cute name is good, but actually having something with a locale in it is good. And I like the fact 831 sounds good because of the fact it's not really specifically saying Santa Cruz. Santa Cruz just sounds boring, right? Yep. Central Coast, that's okay. But 831 it is. Okay. So now the question is, what's next? Well, first off, I want to acknowledge a few people here too. Jack Western, this is his real estate office, and he's opened it up for our usage for the meetings. I want to thanks to Stan Grindstaff for coming in here with storytelling. I think he's involved with Lucid Storytellers, which is a non-Toastmasters group in town. Thanks for coming in and giving us tips. And then you already acknowledged Steam Storyteller. We had a lot of steam going in some of our meetings, I'm telling you, but it was mostly from this end. Anyway, Team Storyteller, and now we are club sponsors David Bush and Catherine Tobish, and our club mentors Lisa Cease, who's not here tonight, and Lisa Frisco, Dora Posas, and our storytelling advocate Daniel Jadick as well. So, thank you guys. So the roles in storytelling, I just pretty much told you the club sponsors are ones behind getting the club going, and the club mentors are then really there to help in the first 6 months to get the club on and keeping on an even keel. That's really the roles of those guys. Now, interim officers right now, David as president, our vice president of membership, Daniel, and then I will be taking on the secretary and treasurer role, and we need 3 officers to charter initially, but we of course would want to have a VP of education, a VP of PR, and also a sergeant of arms. And I want to thank all of you though for being here and participating. We couldn't have this meeting without all of you here in the room. Well, what's next? So how do you charter a new club? The way you charter a new club is by having 20 members. That's the minimum number of members you have. Now this is a different kind of club. This isn't a brand new club. Just about everybody in here is already a Toastmaster with a club. And that is one of the requirements as an advanced club for us is that most of the members will be already members of another club. And that's one of the ways that we form. And then really it's the benefits of being a charter member is that you have the pride of helping create something new. Not only something new, we had our test meeting here today. Is that the way every single meeting would go with this format? No, it's up to the club members to decide. We want to do something a little more unique. This is fairly similar to how Silicon Valley Toastmasters runs, at least of the meetings that I've been to and from their agenda. But we're 831 Storytellers. We could do it the 831 way. We can mix it up and match it. And being a charter member gives you the opportunity to be a part of something new. And, bonus, a charter member certificate suitable for hanging. Yes. And I will definitely take any questions here. First, actually, David, we got a question?
Yeah, it's suitable for hanging. Is it suitable for framing?
Framing! Okay, rub it in. Yes.
You have control over that.
Good. No, I appreciate that feedback, definitely. That's what Toastmasters is all about. Kicking you in the, telling you what you can do. So the question is, of those in here right now, how many of you would commit to join this group tonight?
Yay.
We see a show of hands. We see a show of hands. Okay. Well, I don't think we have enough to charter from this meeting tonight. But it is a good start. It is a good start. So here's what we would, there's a couple of things too. There were surveys about how often the club should meet. And more people, slightly more were interested in meeting just monthly, and others are interested in meeting twice a month.
Yeah.
Now, say you only want to come once a month. I think the argument is really there to have the club meet twice a month, because think about it, you miss 1 month and you're missing 2 months. If you miss a meeting, then maybe there you are, you're only missing 1 meeting, or you come in a 6-week mark. So really, I think the argument is more there to meet twice a month. And given that, our next meeting, if we go that route, would be May 6th. May 6th would be our meeting. What I was going to do next is talk about, if we had enough people to join, I was going to go over what the club constitution looks like, the kind of things we have. It's just very brief, and we'd vote on that, and then ask if we have volunteers for other offices, which we still can take volunteers for other offices. But what we now would actually like to do is, for those of you who are committing to wanting to join, we're going to take your applications and your checks, and then we're going to go ahead and give you a charter member card, and then we will work towards talking up the club to your other fellow Toastmasters so that we can get the minimum 20 to charter. Can I see the show of hands again, just so I can get a count here?
We're so close.
2, and count. And is your hand going up?
So are we, are the 4 that are already paid, are they not in the room, or?
2 of the already paid aren't.
So we're
We have
like
19, I think 19.
Oh my God.
Are you committing? Your hand wasn't up, Tom.
I'm
paid already, actually.
He's paid already,
He
that
should
was
be
my
already
question.
No, but you know what? Wait a minute.
Wait.
Let's all raise our
Hands up, man.
1, 2,
Up big, huh?
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. What did you get? 18?
You know, I was.
No, we have 2 of the, one of the hands. Let's see, that was.
Who wants to count off?
Damien, right?
It's getting late.
Is it Damien?
There's Damien
Yes.
here, but I'm not prepared to commit.
No, Damien. I'm sorry. And actually, you slipped in. I didn't catch your name.
I'm PJ.
Oh yeah, you're. Oh, okay. And you raised your hand. Actually, I think we got it.
You want to count off?
I think we've got 20. I think we've got 20 because 2 are not here. Lisa ceased, and actually.
Marion?
Marion. You know who else? Gail Wilson.
Yes. Sounds like we're.
We have 3. We've got it. So then, let me bring up the computer here real quick, because I want to go over the club constitution, not the whole full-on constitution from TI, but the part.
The addendum of the
Yes.
options.
Come on. Any trick for this, Jack? Here, you get your AV guy here. I think I heard click.
Is there a pizza in there? There's a red light on down there. It's IT.
There, hey. All right.
Amazing.
So the way this would work, and I'm going to go through this, and I know, like, don't snooze too much yet. But there are just a few things that are related to this club if we are going to form. And again, if you all have had the chance, or get the chance, so those of you who are going to join, to fill out your application, you don't need to fill out the first couple lines. So the club name we know now, though.
Yes.
We don't. Yes, 831 Storytellers. We don't know the club number. But, and I have, for just about everybody, if you don't know what your member number is, it's on this sheet, or we can fill it in for you. So,
Do we know a city? Do we need to put a city?
you know what, the city, I guess, would just be Scotts Valley for now, because this, for now, this would be the location of the club, 5522. In fact, so this is what we need to file with TI, and I want to go over this as those of you who are the club, going to be the club members. The club location is here, 5522 Scotts Valley Drive, and gosh, we can fill in a name here, I guess on this one, 831 Storytellers will be filled in. So one of the requirements that we're asking is that you're dual members. The purpose of this club is a supplement to your regular Toastmaster club. There have been some other clubs that have formed in the area that have kind of taken members from those other clubs, and that's not really the purpose of forming a Toastmaster club. But unfortunately, sometimes that's the net effect of having it. This is a supplement to your regular club, whatever that may be, Santa Cruz Downtown, whether it's Surf City, whether it is Aptos, whether it is Regular Ramblers, all the different clubs in the area, Santa Cruz Orders. So this is a supplement. So one of the requirements is that you're a dual member, you belong to the Toastmaster Club. There's something here about honorary individual memberships. If 2/3 of the members vote somebody an honorary membership, then you know, they get to be an honorary member. They don't get any rights to vote or anything like that, right? You know about that, Peter. Peter, by the way, Peter Stoner here is the Division H governor, and he's here to also answer if anyone has any questions about the chartering. So the new member fee, we're paying the $7 additional to help charter the club. We have to pay $135 to TI for the privilege of becoming a club. But we get a gavel. We get booklets, we get ballots, and I believe District 4 is providing, is that right? This and the banner.
Work on that assumption and we'll twist it.
Okay, so these are borrowed from Santa Cruz Downtown, but I was understood from the DEC, if I heard right, is that we were going to get one of these and our own banner. But we'll also get booklets and all this other stuff. So the $7 times 20 new members is $140. The extra $5 goes into the help the club funds. But we figure any new members past this point will one time be charged $7, and then after that, the dues will be $42 per person every 6 months, paid on March 31st, September 30th, just like your regular Toastmaster club. There will be no reinstatement, transfer fee, no inactive member dues. So, are we agreed? Regular meetings first and third Wednesdays of the month, and you can't make those. You come once a month. That's great. If we have a turnout like this, and then it makes it that we can afford to have a couple different meetings. 7 o'clock, the same location, or elsewhere if the club deems that we will have a special meeting somewhere else. EC, the executive committee, to meet monthly. There's no additional offices. In a club that meets less than once a week, the officers serve full year terms. So that's what we've committed to, full year term. Although those of us who are doing officer right now, there would have to be an election for July 1st to June 30th. And David has vowed to step in as president, and he would like to continue beyond that for the next year. We follow Robert's Rules of Order, so this thing about that there's an exception is non-applicable. That is all that it is in the local club constitution. Are there any questions about anything in here? Does anybody have any issues with any of it, or
My
can we vote?
question is, I know that we were wanting to democratically distribute the charter fee amongst the charter members. And yet,
Yes.
I don't think we want, after this, to have, this will give you guys an official, nice charter certificate as a charter member from TI. But after that, we don't want to be charging new members $7, just the $36 plus the $6 to the club for $42. But the $7 will no longer be part of the consideration.
Well, the way I looked at this, and I talked with David about this too, and this is something we could vote upon, is that you guys, as first charter members of the club, as a privilege of getting the club started, are paying that additional $7. To get the club treasury going, the $6 is, that's okay, but that way just a one-time fee for $7 for a new member, do you think that's enough to dissuade somebody from joining if they have to pay $49 like we all are vowing to pay now, if they come in after the chartering?
Yeah, I'm not in a club. I've been in up to 5 clubs.
Right.
And I've never seen a club have a new member fee. It's like, you've got your club dues and you've got your dues to
Right.
TI. So I just don't, I don't think it's the smartest way to go.
Do you have any input on that, Peter? Is it what you've seen typically?
I think you might consider raising the fee for regular members to create a pool of money and use that to pay the $175 fees.
Well, no, we are doing that initially. So we're collecting 49.
Right,
42
you've
plus
made
7.
two classes, you've made a class of charter members and a class of not charter members who come in at number 21 and beyond. My suggestion is that you don't make it that complicated and you just increase the membership fee to belong to the club and put all the money into the treasury.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. So just make it $49
Make it 49,
period.
yeah.
And
Make
that's
the
it.
club dues 13 instead of 6.
What are any
So,
thought?
that's what I don't wanna do. And so I wonder if we just have another vote next time we meet and get rid of the new member fee. That's.
Well, we haven't
do-
voted on anything to accept any of this
Yeah, but
yet.
if we turn it with this way, if we turn it in this way, I think if you feel the need that $6 a month per member isn't enough to manage the club, then you increase that.
Well, that's
But
just
I
what
don't-
Peter said. That's
Yeah.
exactly
Oh,
what he just
yeah.
said.
Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry.
You have
I
three
just
ways
have an
to go.
opinion on this for what it's worth, and that
Yes,
is
Howard.
that any new member who joins, most Toastmasters clubs end up paying a $20 manual fee,
$21.60.
$21.60, and there are clubs that have new member fees on top of that. We have before, and I think at $7 to get in, that's cool.
Yeah, I think it's
And
fine.
I think it's fine.
But the $7 should apply to all members forever,
Yeah,
not
or
just
all new members.
Well, it
Yeah.
applies to all
Yeah.
members the first time they join.
Right.
And then after that,
One-time
it's 42.
fee.
Right, so you
One
eliminated the
time.
That's exactly-
classes being different.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what this is about.
Okay, then we're saying the same thing. I'm
Yeah,
sorry. It's
okay,
just-
sorry.
yeah.
Well, no, you're saying about being $49 perpetually after that for all members.
Correct.
I don't know that, so one thing about it, unless something changes, with the gracious Jack here letting us use this venue, there's no charge.
Right.
And so our expenses overall should be minimal. The $6 that we collect every 6 months could probably be okay. So it's possible that we could eliminate, we thought, well, if we're starting off paying an extra $7, as charter members, why not the next guys coming in also pay that one time? But there's obviously a difference of opinion about this.
I think we're reaching towards consensus if you really listen to what is.
No, he's saying paying $49 every 6 months, perpetually.
For everyone.
Yeah.
Yes, for everyone.
That's what you're talking about. You're talking about, Catherine's talking about not paying it all.
And-
Frisco, I mean, just not charging that to new members after this point. Frisco.
Maybe we can wait and see a little bit on this, but otherwise, anybody who comes in new, it's $49 the first time,
Well,
period.
yeah, it's gonna be 40, I mean, that's just the way that we were looking at it when we added that part into it. It'd just be $49 and then it'd be like everybody, like us joining now, we're charter members, 49, and they are 49, and then they drop to 42 for the second
Just
renewal.
like-
There
Yeah.
are fee saver kicked in.
Steady,
Okay. So,
Yeah.
do we?
Divide by 6 very low.
So I just want to see a show of hands for those of you who plan on joining tonight. Who are of those are in favor of having it? There's 3 different options here. Option number 1 is that the new members that come in after us pay like we do the extra $7. It's not going to the charter fee, it's going to the club treasury for supplies. That's what we have here. The second option is, from Catherine, is to not charge new members that additional $7. So when they come in, they pay $42. Then the other option is what Peter laid out, which is just roll that into the dues of $49 every 6 months. So option, Ron, you want to?
Yeah, I'd like to just talk about that 49, because if someone comes in at 3 months to pay and things like that.
It would be
13 is kind of hard to divide by 6, 12 is much easier, so why not 48? I mean, I can do it, I'm a math guy.
That's a
but-
good point. Good point, Lori.
Yeah.
I was gonna
More
say,
discussion.
the new member fee should always be 7, no matter when they join
Yeah,
in that
I
6
agree.
months.
Yeah, that's
The
what I
club dues, 6 is easy to
Prorated.
divide by
Yeah.
6, 36 is
Yeah.
easy to divide by 6.
So they
That's
don't
what makes
address,
it easy.
they don't address prorating here, but those are exactly my same
Yeah.
thoughts. The $7 is just,
Just
and I know you say, well, gee, if we can tell somebody, okay, it's June 30th, we'll sign you up for July 1st, you don't pay that $7. Well, it doesn't really matter, you pay the $7.
You pay the
No matter
$7
what.
anyhow.
Yeah.
It's
Never
not
$7.
sensitive.
Yeah.
David Lombard.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion
There you go.
I second.
I make a motion that we have, that we have a one-time membership fee that goes to $49, and that, for the one-time new member fee, and that we re-approach this whole question in a year.
There you go.
Yeah,
Okay.
Thank you.
You take that. I know I'm secretary treasurer. Did you want
I
to take
second
the
that
notes?
motion.
Okay, second that motion. So the motion as it stands is that basically what we have listed here is how it's going to be, and we will reevaluate in a year.
Is there any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So
Any
any opposed? All right, motion carries. So actually, I guess we could have extended it just to basically that we're now, could we vote on this, the Constitution as it laid it out?
We need it.
We should have just asked you to.
You know, I
That's all right.
haven't said anything, but I just want to clarify. The twice a year, is it twice a year $49 or once a year?
49 first time, 42 thereafter, as a,
Every 6 months.
as a
Every 6
renewing
months.
member.
Right. So,
As a new member coming in, they will pay $49 if it's the beginning of the term, or prorated,
right,
the TI, the local fee, but the $7 stays.
The $7 is one time when you join the club.
To be revisited in a year.
To
for
be
the
revisited
motion
in a
you
year.
just stated.
So I have a question. The
Yeah.
Toastmasters year starts on June 30th, when we're starting here in
July 1st.
July 1st, right? It ends June 30th. So we're starting here in April.
No, but the dues, it's screwy.
Okay.
The TI year for educational awards and officers is July 1st to June 30th. The dues periods are from April 1st to September 30th, and so actually joining now is for the full 6 months.
Full vote, yeah.
So join now and you get the full value for the club. Gets
the other
Yeah.
so I didn't have an issue.
So is there any more discussion? Can somebody?
I do have something to say. I didn't finish my sentence actually.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay, it's not your fault. Which is that I wasn't aware that we're going to be paying on top of the downtown Toastmasters, for example, that club, and here twice a year.
Yes.
For some people, it adds up.
Right.
And I'm not just speaking for myself. I'm thinking about, there are people out there in Santa Cruz who are very creative, very talented, who may not be able to afford that. So I'd like to suggest, either maybe sometime in the future, to think about perhaps a sliding scale or some way where you can open up the doors to people of different economic status.
One thing,
We
that's a
have
good
that.
consideration.
We
One
have
thing you gotta consider is that we have to pay TI the majority of this money. So the money has to
36
come,
goes to that.
the money has to come from then donations
Oh,
or that.
yeah.
But there are clubs that have raffles, there's evening Toastmasters that have creative ways that bring in more money, and that's definitely something that we could consider. But you're right, this is an additional fee, but it's an advanced Toastmaster club, so it's a supplement to. And if you like what you saw and you can bring your energy in here, I think it's gonna be a great.
And another thing I've seen done at clubs is members who do have the money to spare can approach the executive committee and say, hey, if there's someone who wants to join but can't afford it, I will. We call it sponsoring, which is very confusing, but
David
a
Long-
patron, if you will.
David Lombard in the back of the room just helped sponsor a member for another club.
Right, but I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the Constitution as written.
The addendum.
The addendum.
The addendum of standard club options.
The addendum that we approve the addendum of standard club options as presented.
Seconded.
Second. Any discussion? I call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. I want to thank everybody for being patient with this part of the process. If we can get your member application and your checks, Frisco will sign you out a little charter member card that you are official with 831. So if you can stick around for a few more minutes, we can get you squared away.
We also need rolls for next.
And rolls for next, yes.
One more comment. 831 is divisible by 3. You divide 831 by 3, it's 277, which is prime.
I was told that we know that.
Can we make the checks too?
Actually, oh yeah, that's the other thing. The checks, because the club until we file the charter paperwork is not official. It will be when we have the 20 applications. David is collecting all the money, and so bring it to him now because he's got to catch his plane to Mexico tomorrow morning. And no, seriously, he's going to then deposit it all at once with TI, and then we'll get a bank account.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you.
Yeah, so how long have you been doing it?
I have to bring my team up.
All right, I wasn't going to do it. Okay,
Yes.
Oh my God, really? Well, I'll tell you what we all hope that we don't have to deal with that situation. Thanks very much. Oh, absolutely. Hi, I'm Jack Weather. My wife, pleasure.
You were good, I liked it.
It is just absolutely capacity.
Scratched out a few comments. Well done, Henry. Good seeing you again.
It's a little off the top of what we
Okay.
Actually, you're going to get about 7 Thank you. Thank you very much. Very nice job. Very smooth. Yeah. Are you going to get it on there?
No, I
Just church.
Oh, yeah. Stories are always
Yeah. And we do well.
The boat.
What is that?
You gotta punch him up a little bit. You know that.
Thank you, Jack. Opening up your
You are
office.
stunning blonde. I could not. Both was it. The shot of him was supposed to be
Yeah, I think so.
a little different, cool ride, but the guy had.
Yeah, well, it's still all different for me, so the butterflies go, but what the hell, I'll just do it.
Oh, yeah. I would say the first like 2 years of sailing, I had the fish a lot. And then I got better. So anyway.
Nice seeing you. Okay.
I think that's great. It's great from, I study NLP, and it's so brilliant because
Looks like you're ready to
So I didn't know.
all the sensory sounds and, yeah, so we can make that alive and vivid. It's a little tricky.
That'd be good. You have to hang out together. Yeah, great.
Love of my life.
See more of you now.
Now his wife started.
Thank
You're gonna be a
You're gonna finish your dinner.
I know, I stopped at Starbucks.
I knew you did. I saw you.
I know. I was like munching on it when I was waiting for my latte, and I'm like, oh, it's Toastmasters. I can munch my sandwich. And I'm like, maybe not.
Maybe not.
you. Now you're remembering now.
Oh, it is.
That's our phone number.
Oh.
Yeah. But our name is
David Bush. Yeah, the USA.
Yeah, I know, we share space. Downtown. Come to one of our meetings sometimes, just check us out.
Because it's free to everybody.
You got a lot of you guys are Wednesday
at 6:30.
I gotta explain my wife.
Oh, bring her.
Actually, one night, she's a therapist, Tom's a therapist. He's following her footsteps. And so she works one night.
I would love to go out to but I
Give me some business. Good to meet you. Same here. I look forward to seeing you again. Thank you. And he was so dynamic. This
I will take anything you want to give me right now.
Body movements.
I want to grow up to this.
I'm gonna copy you.
Go down.
Yeah, well,
Oh, he's in the No, you didn't look easy.
and I love
I gotta go story.
it's like, oh God, I'm wait, it's so major. It's so, it is, and I play next to like,
Yeah, custom.
great, it's just like it feels like.
I chose this because of the zippers. Yeah, because they're like, I can't wear secrets. But the zippers, yeah, you're right.
And just the, not just the good dispenser.
If I have one, it's just
Yes.
It's so theoretical.
But you know,
Theory. When you were speaking about that, I wrote something.
I'll find you're true to their We're gonna keep.
well, you know, the thing about this phone is,
Mine when you walked in, right?
For a second. It's the small firm parking the
Ron, did you drive? Do you need a ride home?
Oh, no, I don't.
to tell
Where do you stand?
I didn't know.
Nightstand.
I didn't even think about, you know, what else might be coming. And I just, yeah, I guess I'll go up to that. You know, you know, I come.
and I haven't.
Awesome.
I have it on, I got it on my list to announce, and I forgot today.
Pleasant surprise.
Yeah. I was out piloting my work, so,
Are you just out?
I did go see him,
Jack,
stick
can you
it
hit
in.
the button on the
He's
camera and turn it off?
he's on a joint supplement right now, that I need to give him every
silver
day to
button.
oral
The silver
one,
button.
so.
Okay.
And
Not
then
the- yeah,
give him a
just turn it.
supplement, vitamin grass.
The silver one.
I got it.